Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast. In this week's episode, I want to return to the 1/24th scale and show you a car that I've been wanting to show you for a long time. You remember a few weeks ago where I did a review on the 1/24 scale Lamborghini Aventador by Welly? Now it is time to review its little brother. This is the 1/24 scale Lamborghini Huracan LP610-4 by Maisto. And this is what the model looks like inside its box. It's your typical Maisto Special Edition 1/24 scale box. So you've got the clear plastic window through which you can see the model from the front and from the top. And at the sides, you've got the Special Edition written. And over here at the back, a few other scales to check out. And then right here, die-cast metal with plastic parts, opening doors and parts, adjustable front wheels, workable steering, independent spring suspension for wheels, which I believe is a lie because 1/24 scale models do not have suspension. But I think it's the same like print on the 118 and 1/24 scale boxes. Features vary on different models, so that's essentially how they get away with it. Okay, let's get this model out of its box. The Huracan, Spanish for hurricane, is Lamborghini's current V10 offering, and successor to the Gallardo that it replaced 2014 onward, which was also 3 years after the release of the Aventador back in 2011. The LP610-4 designation comes from the fact that this car has 610 PS, which is metric horsepower, and 4 to indicate the all-wheel drive, while LP describes the longitudinal layout of the engine and its location at the vehicle's posterior. The main competitors of the Huracan are, apart from the Audi R8, also the McLaren 650S and the Ferrari 488 GTB. Now the Huracan comes with a hefty price tag of $240,000, but there's also a lower spec variant of the Huracan, the LP580-2, the 2 indicating the rear-wheel drive, and that one is $40,000 cheaper, so around $200,000, which in turn means it is only half as expensive as the LP700-4 Aventador used to be, with its nearly $400,000 price tag. And just like the Aventador, by now the Huracan has been through several variants. You've got the 610-4 Spider, the 2016 580-2 Coupe, the 2016 580-2 Spider, the 2017 640-4 Performante, the 2018 640-4 Performante Spider, the 2019 Huracan Evo, and the 2019 Huracan Evo Spider facelifts. So looking at the front of this car, this is probably where we have the most controversy going on. And that controversy lies in the headlights. For someone who does not really know what the headlights of the Lamborghini Huracan look like, these headlights will not really bother you. But for those who do, these are some of the worst designed headlights. I don't know what Maisto was thinking when they did this, because the headlights of the real Lamborghini Huracan have a distinct double Y shape regarding the DRLs, and none of that is visible over here. I mean, if we take a closer look at the headlights, like if you look at them really up close, you can see that it is designed after the real Huracan's headlights, in the sense that you have the main bulb in the middle and the two Y-shaped DRLs kind of like surrounding it and going downward. But just the way these headlights are located, in the sense that they're like far too recessed, and that you've got this huge peg on top, and that the chrome pays emphasis to the entire headlight instead of just highlighting the Y-shaped DRLs, mean that the overall look of the headlights, especially when viewed from afar, is just like a silvery mess instead of actual Y-shaped DRLs. And that's the reason why I think that if you haven't bought a 124 scale Huracan yet, a model that I can recommend instead of this Maisto is the Welly version. The 124 Lamborghini Huracan by Welly is absolutely beautifully well done, at least in the front. It captures the look of the Y-shaped DRLs perfectly, and it's pretty much in the same price category as this Maisto version, so if you haven't got a Huracan already, just get that instead of this. In 1/18 scale, Maisto's Huracan hasn't really solved this problem either. They still pay too much emphasis on the main bulbs rather than the Y-shaped DRLs. And again, even in 1/18, the Welly Huracan is so much better in terms of getting these lights to look right. The problem is that both in 124 scale and in 1/18 scale, especially in this yellow, the Welly Lamborghini Huracans are pretty hard to come by, and you'd have to import them from China. However, other colors like red, green, and matte black are still easy to find. But that's pretty much the only real problem that I have with this Maisto model. In all other aspects, I am quite happy with it, and that's the reason why I didn't buy another Huracan, and why I kept this model. So let's take a look at the good things this model has to offer. And we're going to begin by the Lamborghini badge right here in the middle. You can see that it says Lamborghini on it. And you've got the Raging Bull and the golden trim and everything. It looks good. And it's also rightly proportioned, I think. Down below you have these huge vents. I wouldn't really call them air intakes, because the engine is located at the back. But I believe these exist to channel the air while the car is driving and help with the downforce. You can see the grille meshes down there, and they do have a pattern on them, which is nice. And if we take a look at the hood, while the hood does not open on this 124 scale model, you can still see that it has these two lines over here, which add a little bit to the realism. And the hood itself is also shaped exactly the way the hood on the real Huracan is shaped. And then you have, of course, these windshield wipers up here. And the dashboard also has some detail, but we'll get to that later. And here's a look at the car's side profile, and this is by far my favorite view of the Lamborghini Huracan. I mean, just look at this shape. It's just absolutely amazing. I'd even go so far as to say that this side profile looks even more amazing than the Aventador. I mean, you've got these really cool vents here behind the door. Although on the 1/18 scale Huracan, this vent right here is more emphasized, whereas here it's not really featured. And same goes for this vent, where it's a little more recessed, whereas here it's like they didn't get the shape perfectly right. But up here you can see that it says LP610-4, just like on the real car. And now taking a closer look at the wheels. These are 20-inch Giano rims in Argento, which is silver. The welly version is equipped with Mimas Argento rims instead. But I personally think the Giano rims look cooler. You can see the Lamborghini crest in the middle, surrounded by 5 lug nuts, which are also shaded properly so that they actually look like separate bolts that have been put into place there. And the rims just look amazing. The problem is that this car does not have any brake discs or brake calipers. But then again, that's pretty much the industry standard for 124 scale Maistos. Here at the front we have an indicator, although it's just painted on. And taking a look at these mirrors, you can see that they are shaped exactly like the ones on the real Huracan. Moving on to the back of the car, the first thing you'll notice immediately are these chrome-tipped quad exhausts, which look great. The exhausts are also properly shaded in, so that they have that depth to them, which is good. In the middle you have the Huracan rear license plate, which is also in the proper Lamborghini font. And speaking of Lamborghini, you can see it written up there in silver lettering. And on top of that, we have a brake light. What I like about the 124 scale Lamborghini Huracan by Maisto is that the taillights actually look better than that of the 124 scale Welly Lamborghini Huracan. Because on the Welly version, as you can see in this picture, the taillights have a huge peg in the middle. Whereas on the Maisto Huracan, that peg is not obvious. And instead, we have these 3 separately colored DRLs on the back as well. And they make the taillights look pretty good. Below the taillights, we have this huge rear grille, which also looks pretty good. And moving further up, we have the rear canopy, which is also the rear engine cover, and this can actually be lifted. And this rear canopy also has these vents here on either side, although they don't have a whole lot of detail on them. It's still good that we can see them on this model. And down here you can see that the canopy has an opening. Now let's open up the engine cover and check out the engine. So the rear engine cover lifts about this high, which is good. And the Huracan maintains the 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10 engine from the Gallardo, but one that has been tuned to now generate a power output of 610 PS or 602 brake horsepower at 8,250 RPM. 0 to 100 km per hour only takes 2.9 seconds with launch control, and the Huracan LP610-4 has a top speed of 328 km per hour. I think Maisto did a pretty solid job on this engine in 124 scale. I mean, even on the real car, most of it is hidden behind this top cover, but you can see that it has a lot of vents. And you can still see the engine, although it is also covered with a crossbar. You can see that it says Lamborghini on each engine block. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. One of the problems on the 124 scale Lamborghini Huracan by Maisto is that the rear canopy is not painted as well and seamlessly as the 118 version. So if I open the canopy again, you can see here that on the sides there is no black paint. And you can only see the same color as the rest of the car body. And this is something that you can fix with black paint. So what I essentially did was, also here at the A pillar, you can see that we have some extra bit of yellow color. And this is something that can easily be rectified. And here you can see how it looks like when I'm finished with the painting. Everything is seamless now. You can see the black edges. Just looks great. Just like the Gallardo, the Huracan's doors open in a normal fashion, although they're a little bit hard to open. But the scissor doors are a feature reserved for the V12 models of Lamborghini. Let's take a look inside. So this is the interior of Maisto's 124 scale Lamborghini Huracan. Although I have to admit that I did some extensive paint work on this interior, because when you buy the car, it will look exactly like this. Everything is black, nothing is painted. Which is a shame because there are a lot of details here that should be highlighted in silver, and that's the reason why I decided to paint this in silver as well. So what I did was I highlighted the trim of the air vents in silver, as well as the trim of the center console, and highlighted the buttons as well, and the spokes on the steering wheel, but we'll get to that in a moment. But just from this angle, you can still see that Maisto put a lot of detail on the center console. And the Huracan's transmission is automatic. The age of manual shifting is over. And the 7-speed dual-clutch transmission comes with 3 modes: Strada, which is street, Sport, and Corsa, which is race. And down there you can also see the red start button. Now let's check out the driver's side. So here's a look at the driver's side of the Lamborghini Huracan, and you can see that we already have a Lamborghini logo in the middle of the steering wheel. Behind the steering wheel we also have paddle shifters, and again this is something that I've highlighted in silver, just like the 3 spokes of the steering wheel. And regarding the instrument panel, the analog gauges of the Gallardo have been replaced in the Huracan by a 12.3-inch TFT display. And this display is represented by a sticker, and as you can see on the sticker we have the speedometer and a few other numbers as well. You might also remember the Gallardo had 3 separate gauges up here that used to show the oil pressure, oil temperature, and voltometer. Those things are now also part of the main TFT display behind the steering wheel. The seats don't have any real detail to them, but they still have the overall shape of the Huracan's sport seats. Floor pedals are down there, also painted, just to highlight them. And looking at the bottom of the car, you can see that it says Lamborghini Huracan LP610-4, scale 124, Maisto, made in China. This is model number 1423. We got some transmission detail here, but other than that, it's quite simple. Guys, thanks again for tuning in and checking out the review of this 124 scale Lamborghini Huracan by Maisto. I hope you liked the review. And if you're interested in more Lamborghinis, you can find some of the other reviews that I've done here. And as always, have a great day, take care, and this is Imperial Diecast, signing out.